Welcome to Behind the Screen. With me, Robert Hartley. I am the GM or Games Master for this lovely chaotic group, Viva la Dirt League, and I'll be taking you through a few of the epic or crucial moments in the campaign so far. So come with us on the journey and learn a little bit about what's going on behind here. So in episode 52 and 53, Barradoon and the Dickheads, in investigating the glacier for rimming, felt compelled to get there quickly. And when they did so, they found a dead Goliath with a strange symbol drawn in blood in front of him in the snow. The reason for their compulsion was this, quote, "Lantern of Revealing would reveal 1-foot-long tadpole creatures with circular mouths filled with pointy teeth, flying through the air. They move without direction or purpose, but become more numerous closer to the glacier. Start asking for percentile checks to see if any of the creatures come into contact with the characters. A DC is 1 plus 20 for each half hour that they pass. Anyone who is touched by one must succeed on a wisdom saving throw DC 14 or feel compelled to get to the glacier to find out the truth." So that is why I was asking for percentage checks. That is why eventually, after several sections of half hour, even a 50-something still failed, because as they were getting closer and closer to the glacier, there were more and more of these invisible tadpole creatures that just happened to waft through one of them's heads. And as soon as one of them wafted through their head, they felt compelled to get to the glacier. These creatures otherwise serve no purpose other than to set the scene for something otherworldly happening around the glacier.
There's a dead Goliath! There's a lot of blood! Oh shit, he's missing a leg!
So, as for the Goliath friend, the dead person that they found in the snow, he was actually an amalgamation of 3 clues as to what they could have found in the glacier. It was a way of me giving them the opportunity to discover that they were going to fight a giant before discovering it was actually a giant. So firstly, his leg was cleanly amputated. On a DC 12 medicine check, they can tell that his amputation was the cause of his death. He bled out. On a DC 15 medicine check, they would have been able to tell that it was cut off from a single blow from a large axe, indicating that it was a strong creature with a large axe.
Oh no!
And on a DC 18 medicine check, they would have been able to tell that it was delivered in a steep downward strike, which, given that he was a Goliath, nearly 8 feet tall, it would have indicated that whatever attacked him was much taller than them. That probably would have told them it's a giant. Secondly, the other clue was that the symbol that he was making in blood in front of him was, as Greg suggested, a G.
What do you guys think? Kind of looks like a G?
Beginning the word giant. If any of them had asked to get into the head of the guy before death, try and work out what he might have been writing, I probably would have asked them for an insight check, and if they'd have rolled well enough, I would have said that, given that he was moments away from death, he was probably writing a clue to what killed him. And then they might have, from that, been able to realise that it was writing rather than a symbol. Of course, I deliberately made it ambiguous as to whether it was a G or an arrow. 'Cause I'm an asshole.
It's telling us to turn around, I think.
I think it's more like, maybe this is a recycling centre.
Recycling! It's telling us to recycle!
And lastly, the other clue that was represented by this Goliath is that as a 5th level cleric in the party, Grin has access to a 3rd level spell called Speak with Dead. So had he known this and used it, the Goliath would have been able to just straight up tell him what killed him and where it was and how to get around it. But alas, it was not meant to be. So let's talk about how I prepared for that fight with the giant. Firstly, I had to decide, what's the context of it? Why is the giant there? What was the reason for the glacier? All of this sort of backstory. Whoa. So the reason for that is Auriel, who is the goddess of this particular area, she had created the glacier in this very specific spot for redacted reasons. Then the frost giant, just going about his frost giant business, he happened to get drawn towards this glacier because of the ethereal tadpole things that I mentioned. And when he got there, Auriel enjoyed his tenacity. So she encased him in ice and kept him as a bit of a prize, as a way of warning away others from this particular glacier.
I just used my bat sonar to check inside that ice. There's a flippin' frost giant in there!
Incidentally,
Squeak, squeak.
he was the icy blue vase that I referenced in Grin's dream. Auriel was directly telling Grin, in a roundabout godlike way, you need to protect this prize of mine, this prized possession, this icy blue vase that is fragile. You need to protect it from the 4 violent children that you're with. And Grin, of course, did not manage to protect it, and so she has punished him since he left Barradoon and the Dickheads.
I guess we're going in.
I'll keep watch over your back.
Then after the giant was encased, something redacted happened. and he was reanimated as a corpse to attack things that came within a certain radius of him. That's the sort of thing that I do to try and like come up with the whys and the wherefores as to why this monster is there and all of this. Then I come up with how. How does the fight go down? So no matter the level of the monster in D&D, if you ever pit one monster against an entire party of adventurers, the action economy is so imbalanced that they're going to trounce him. They're going to surround him, they're going to knock him over, they're going to stun him, they're going to take away some of his actions. And so that's essentially what you see in that fight. And as such, you can either add lots of other monsters or minions or lair actions, or you can just increase the HP and the attacks of that particular monster. So that's essentially the direction I went with it. I give him more HP, I give him multi-attack, made the fight a little bit more dangerous for them in that respect. I did actually give him a couple of lair actions where he could have knocked them prone by stamping on the ground. He could have dropped icicles onto them from the top of the glacier. But I opted in the moments that we were kind of running out of time in the day. I wanted to just get back to have Grin's date, have enough time for that, so I just simplified the fight a little bit.
We need to get back for your date.
Yeah, I was thinking about time. Let's go.
So, now with that knowledge in mind, go back and rewatch those episodes, see if you pick up on anything else that you missed the first few times, and thank you for watching Behind the Screen.
Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please spread the word, share it with your friends, tell everyone. It really helps us out. And I assume you have already, but if you haven't, subscribe. Thanks.